can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from you. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Catch us at www.thesmokingglasshour.com.
It's time to take back control of our society. Today's world requires an open and honest discussion about the current events. On the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, our goal is to engage people from different walks of life into a healthy discussion, creating a positive outcome. When it comes to global events, tune in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Monday nights at 7:30. We don't just listen to the news, we bring you the news.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour tonight, Thursday night, May the 5th, 2016. Tonight's topic is Ted Cruz out. Does Sanders stand in the race help or hurt Hillary Clinton? But before we get off into the show, hello Deb, hello Belinda, and everybody else that's out there on the live chat, anybody else that's out there listening on the live blog, anybody that's calling in on the host line or whatever. I want to say good afternoon to everyone, and hopefully that everybody has had a wonderful week, and happy Cinco de Mayo as well, which is a Mexican historical date that they celebrate. So for those who are out there that are from that particular ethnic origin, happy day to you, and may it be wonderful and joyous. May other cultures outside of that population enjoy, learn, and understand about their culture. Now, the commercial basically talked about an open and honest discussion. And for anybody that has been following this particular broadcast, one thing that we've always stressed is our number one goal is to simply make a difference. And we believe that we make a difference when we allow people from various backgrounds to come in and have a conscious conversation that allows other people that's out there listening to learn, take away, and go back and implement something a little different. Now, we know that there is a presidential election coming up in November of 2016. We now know that the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party, the GOP, the grand old party, the party of Lincoln, so to speak, is now coined by Donald Trump. We also know on the Democratic side, we have an independent by the name of Senator Bernie Sanders, and we have another individual who has been in politics for at least 30 some odd years, former Secretary of State, former United States Senator, and former First Lady Hillary Clinton. The question that we posed again is this: Ted Cruz out. Does Sanders stay in the race help or hurt Hillary? Okay, now, there's a difference between a discussion and a debate. A debate can lead to somebody trying to win and the other person losing. Or a discussion can be healthy where everybody can voice the various opinions and people can learn, or they can add to, or they can take away. So we always like to have a simple discussion, even though there may be disagreements. Now, again, Ted Cruz is out. Does Sanders stay in the particular race? Does it hurt Clinton or does it help her? Now, here's my issue. I had a minister to come in today, and by the way, today has been kind of like the crossroads between left and right, good and evil, up and down, hot or cold, or whatever the opposite is, that's what it can be. The minister was talking about Bernie, was talking about Trump, and talking about Clinton. And as he was talking, a thought came to my head. And here's my thought. If America has followed the mantra of united we stand, divided we fall. If the country wants to go back to taking America or making America great again or taking our country back, the question is, what are you taking the country back to? But even more importantly, when we say united we stand, divided we fall, and we send this particular message all over the world to the entire globe, we say united we stand, divided we fall. I believe that as of Monday or Tuesday night, the country has finally put the car in reverse. And the outcome will determine whether we will start to go in backwards. Why do I say that? Because we're talking about united we stand, divided we fall. Well, we know this for sure, that the presumptive nominee, Donald Trump, stands for division, stands for bigotry, stands for all of those things that has absolutely nothing to do with unity. So my question is this: how can people in this country be for unity, but you specifically support somebody that stands for 100% division? So you have a choice. And I do like what I saw today, or yesterday, seen. Bush 1 and Bush 2 have chosen not to make an endorsement or not to participate in the upcoming election. I read between the lines. Because me personally, I believe that both Bushes were good people. I really do believe it, regardless as to whether they were Republicans or not, regardless as to whether they did whatever it was that they did. I believe that deep down inside they were good people, but they were surrounded by hawks and all those other people who wanted to be more destructive, and as a result they were. I believe that they chose not to make an endorsement because they themselves know that this guy is not what the country stands for and is not what they stood for as presidents of this United States. We know that Dave Lamont is hopefully going to be joining us. Dave did send a message saying that he couldn't get his phone to work. I know that at some point Mr. Aaron Hopkins is supposed to join us. I know that Deb from Missouri is in. I know that Nikki from Nevada is in. And I'm hoping that Pastor Riggins come in because he is an avid supporter of Hillary Clinton. So what I'm going to do, I know Nikki, you're out there. Deb, you're out there. I'm going to start with Nikki. Nikki, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, Byron. How are you?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. Deb, I know you're out there. I know it takes a while for you to get off of mute. How are you doing, Deb?
I was actually ready for you tonight, Byron. I'm doing good.
Okay.
As well.
Okay, let's start the conversation. Nikki, I'll start with you. The question that we have is this, is that we know that Ted Cruz is now out of the race. We know that John Kasich is out of the race. With Hillary trying to have focus on Bernie and Trump being the most unorthodox individual running for office in the entire history of presidential candidates running for office. With Hillary assumed, and that's big quotation, being the presumptive nominee, even though Bernie's in, Bernie's saying that he's going to contest this, that, thus, and so. Is that in fact a burden on Clinton? Or should he continue to do whatever it is that he's doing, go on to June, and then the party itself choose their nominee? Nikki Bedford.
As much as it
pains me to say it, Barron. It looks like Hillary will be the Democratic candidate. But I don't think that Bernie staying in and taking his insurgent campaign all the way to Philadelphia hurts Hillary at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Trump supporters will vote for Trump. I saw today Paul Ryan won't endorse him, just like the Bushes won't endorse him. I think there's a whole bunch of things going to happen within that GOP. Within the GOP, I think it's in its death throes. I think there's a lot of time. I mean, Trump, I do believe, will be the nominee, but I think we're going to see some real chaos in the party in the next month. You know, I was listening today. Joe Biden said something that I'd love to quote. And it says that Joe Biden understands something about the Democratic Party and its future that his fellow partisans would do well to consider. I don't think, and here's this quote, I don't think any Democrat ever once saying, we cannot think that big. We have to really downsize here because it's not realistic. He says, come on, man, this is the Democratic Party. I'm not of the party that says we can't do it. And then mocking Hillary Clinton's criticism of Bernie Sanders for proposing bold reforms, Biden dismissed the politics of lowered expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of saying we can do much more, he declared to the Times. He'll take Mr. Sanders' aspirational approach over Mrs. Clinton's caution any day. I like that quote. I think Biden made space himself for Sanders taking his campaign all the way to the convention. And Bernie himself has promised to go to the convention with as many delegates as possible to fight for a progressive party platform. I think I was reading today he's already better positioned than any insurgent challenger to engage in rules and platform debates, as well as everything else, including who will be the VP. It's like Jesse Jackson in 1988. Jesse Jackson forced rules, he forced reforms, and he forced diversification of the DNC. I believe if Bernie can do that, okay, as I say, I think the Republican Party is going to be chaotic. I think if Bernie goes to, and I think he's promised to do it, and I trust him, man. I think if Bernie goes all the way to the campaign floor, I think if he goes, I believe he right now in his 18 states, over 1,350 delegates. If he can force and get some representation, I think he can force Mrs. Clinton, even unwillingly, to make moral and ethical decisions that she needs minding. You know, I think Bernie being in and taking it to the campaign does not hurt her. I think it hurts the Democratic Party. I think it hurts the nation if he doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, the whole purpose is to make Mrs. Clinton, pay heed to this country, to what's happening, the issues that need to be addressed, to the dissatisfaction, to the poverty, anti-incarceration, to fighting things that she would not do without his challenge.
Mm-hmm.
He's adopted his policies, Barron. I think in that sense, Bernie Sanders is good for Mrs. Clinton if she is the president of the United States.
Okay, Nikki, let me ask you this before I go to Deb. Belinda is out there on the live chat as well as saying that Bernie should stay. Hillary didn't leave until June, back when she ran against Barack. Now, what I'm doing is playing devil's advocate. My position is totally different than the way I'm talking. However, let me ask you this. Donald Trump is unlike any other individual who has ever run for the office of the President of the United States. We don't know what angle he's going to come and hit Hillary. Rather than have to worry about, because let me back up a little. What would be wrong with Bernie sitting down with Hillary, pushing her or forcing her to some degree to nominate a vice president who has a progressive agenda, just as Bernie does, which he gets the same as what he's trying to get now. He can move on and start his own party. Sam and I were talking today. I think now is probably the best time to have a four-tier party, which means you're going to have the Democrats and Republicans regardless. We know that the Republican Party is in disarray. They can start their own. The Democratic Party is far to the far to the left than what Hillary is. So now's the time for a four-tier party. But if he stays, and Hillary is not able to focus her entire attention on this unorthodox candidate who has, I hate to say it, has annihilated individuals who are experts in the political field. He's annihilated them. So if that be the case, can you look at it that way and still draw the same conclusion? And if so, that's fine, because like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate, because what I want to do is get all of these sides out, from Hillary's side and Bernie's side. Of course, anybody that's out there know I am with Bernie. I have no desire to vote for Hillary, but what I will do is this. Should she get the nominee, I'm going to do everything I can to discourage people against Trump. Now, if that helps her, that's fine, but I'm not voting for her. I hope Dr. Jill Stein or somebody is in there so I can cast my vote. Nikki, what do you think?
I really believe that when Clinton and Trump go at it, it is going to get so dirty and so hideous. I think they're both have no boundaries. But I don't believe, I believe Trump has a following. But I believe that Republicans are also afraid of Trump. There's certain Republicans that are afraid of Trump. You mentioned the Bushes. I didn't know that. Paul Ryan came out today, Speaker of the House. He will not endorse him. So I don't think when the rubber hits the road and it's Hillary and Trump, that Trump will win. I think there'll be too much defection from the Republican Party. So I still believe that Bernie staying in the race does not hurt her. I think she will do it. I also think that Trump, as the months go on, he already changed position, I think, today on the $15 an hour. I mean, Trump's got a lot of time yet to make a bigger fool of himself than he is, you know? So no, I still believe that Bernie being in the race does not hurt her.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Deb.
Let me also say that.
Go ahead.
I don't think that Bernie morally would withdraw from the race.
Mm-hmm.
He's promised to go to the convention. Take the man at his word.
Okay, Deb, I'm going to ask you the same question, which is Bernie staying. I know you are a delegate, trying to be. You're actively involved in the Feel the Burn movement. What is your take on it coming from the state of Missouri?
Okay, so one of my first things is, well, first of all, I don't think it hurts at all for him to stay in. But one of my first things is that I think part of the reason he's staying in, not only as he was saying, he's going to keep his word, but also because his campaign's been funded by the people, not by corporations and things like that. And it's those people like me and everybody else that keeps pushing for him to stay. It was our money that we invested. And I think he will stay partially because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I think it's good for him to stay in because he keeps bringing a light to the election corruption that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
The voter suppression and the purge ballots and things like that. And the farther he goes, the more states we see that in. And it becomes, people, it's bringing it to light. People are actually seeing this. This is a real thing. I mean, we've always known it, but we've never had proof. So I think that's an important thing also. And then thirdly, I think he needs to keep pushing Hillary left. She's going to need time to lure in Bernie supporters. And the further left he can push her, the more likely she's going to be able to do that. She's going to need that time. Now, that being said, I also think that if she does take the nomination, that we're going to see her do a quick pirouette and go right back to the right.
Right. After
the nomination,
mm-hmm.
or whether it's once she takes the presidency, if she takes the presidency, which I don't think she can. I don't think she can take the presidency because I don't think she's going to be able to win over enough Bernie supporters.
Okay, so with that being said, you being a Democrat, would you want Trump to win?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so if that being the case, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate, what must Bernie people do? And I'm one of them. What must we do? But I've already stated many times, I'm willing to accept whatever the end result is. But as I think about that, The more I see Donald Trump and how corrupt this guy is, one thing I hate is a bigot or a racist. I hate that person to the core. And the reason why I use the word hate is because there's one thing that we all should hate. That's the devil. And I equate him to the devil. So, yes, I hate the guy. I hate the guy's ways. I don't hate him personally. I hate what he stands for. So, again, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that Trump is not elected. But let me, again, I'm trying to get, if we're talking about the Progressive Caucus, why can't all of these voters that are for Bernie, that are for a progressive movement, negotiate with Hillary to put somebody from the VP standpoint as a progressive? It's a win-win because the VP progressive would at least have a better chance of going in. Because here's the deal. If Bernie puts all of his chips on the table and he still loses, what bargaining chip does he have at that point? If he gets a VP that's progressive, then at least you have a chance for 4 years. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate because I want all the opinions or all of those thoughts to be out there. I'll make it plain again. I am for Bernie Sanders. I have no desire to vote for Hillary Clinton. Deb, I'll bring you in, and if there's anybody else that's out there, then I'll go back to, I'm not sure if Dave Lamont is out there yet, but Nick, I'll come back to you after Deb.
Okay. I think, actually, if she could find a progressive that would run as a VP, I think that would be really beneficial to her.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be able to find anybody that would do it. I don't think Bernie Sanders would do it.
I don't think he should.
As a VP.
I don't think he should.
Either.
Right.
But we need to keep in mind, too, that if Hillary wins the nomination, she still has this email issue and the Benghazi deal hanging over her head. If for some reason she is indicted on that, Trump's going to win it anyway. I mean, that's going to be the end of it.
But here's the deal from a...
We'll be able to do at that point.
I'm not... Hillary will not be indicted. Okay, in my professional opinion and my personal opinion, she is not going to be indicted. That's a smokescreen because I think people on the other side, a socialist is almost, from what I'm seeing, as bad as a person of color running for office. Now, saying that, I'm more concerned about people. This has nothing to do with anybody on the line. About people that's whining about Hillary, and I'm one of them. Okay, but when you look at it, if women want Trump not to be elected, and you don't vote for Hillary, then are you not in fact shooting yourself in the foot? I'll throw it to Nikki up there.
Oh.
Yeah, either one.
Oh, I was going to say possibly. I mean, possibly you could be, but I'm just not convinced that she's going to be able to rally enough Bernie supporters to take the nomination is my only concern.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, I almost have to wonder if we wouldn't be better off having independents are well over 40% of the voting population,
mm-hmm.
and a majority of those lean Democrat. So I'm wondering if they wouldn't be better off trying to rally that 40% as a write-in for Bernie. It's too late for him to run as an independent, and he wouldn't do it anyway. But they've got this movement, Bernie or Bust movement, and I'm wondering if they're not going to pull this off and be able to rally those people together and do write-ins and get him in anyway. It's happened once before.
Mm-hmm.
It's not absolutely out of the question.
Okay. Nikki, what do you think?
I think that, I think we run the risk of shooting ourselves in the foot, not voting for Hillary. I really do. And I think I'm with you on that one, Baron. I think then the chips would just fall where they may. The will of the people will have spoken, and we usually can kind of get what we deserve. I think that, it's interesting that there's an Ohio Senator, Sherrod Brown, ardent supporter, and touted as a potential VP, and he's a progressive.
Uh-huh.
And he's publicly said that Hillary should work with Bernie on the platform in order to strengthen the party's appeal. He said something else that, he didn't say this, but her decision to adopt almost every single one of Bernie's policies, for trade policies, minimum wage tracking, you name it, I mean, every policy he has, she's adopted. If nothing else, Hillary is a shrewd, canny politician. of the worst kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that her campaign recognizes that a substantial portion of the party's base, as well as its potential base, is attracted to Bernie's message. And I think this is why she's adopted his policies. There's the support within her own supporters within the party for some of these policies. I mean, I think this could be. I think she could be forced. Mrs. Clinton could be forced into a change that somewhere she unwillingly may want to go. That may kind of stop this tide of where the nation is going. If Bernie cannot be president, his legacy might be an overhaul of the Democratic Party and Mrs. Clinton.
Right.
If not, we're going to get what we deserve. We're going to get what we vote for.
Exactly. And that's an excellent point, Nikki. Yeah. Excellent point. Yeah. Let me bring in Aaron Hopkins, because he had a perspective yesterday that I thought was very profound. Aaron Hopkins, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, very glad. As you know, and as you and I had spoke, Nikki fed right into kind of where my mindset has been with this discussion going on the last couple of weeks. And it's not just a discussion between us, but there's, to me, a mood swing in politics that says, kind of like what Nikki just stated, the parties are more concerned with their visual appearance in the nation more so than their actual policy and moral stance on issues. And unless and until a change is made, and it appears that it's going to be a forcible change, I think the country is in for more of the same, with the exception that there's more resistance this time to the same old type of politics. So, as you and I have also mentioned, Barry, one of the things about people stating or concerned that the people that are supporting Bernie at some point need to get on board and support Hillary. See, it's not a point where nobody wants to give anybody something they have not earned.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, Hillary Clinton has not earned the right, nor has she earned the trust of the people who have backed Bernie Sanders. It's and that's not just my personal opinion on it. This is a factual-based argument that's being for. So, if it comes down to a protest or a contested campaign, I believe, like Nikki just said, if Senator Sanders does not in fact win the presidency, it may be the changing or the turning point for that party as a whole, which we all know is needed.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, Hodge. If we're saying that Hillary should earn the vote, to some degree, I have seen, now this is me, I have seen some who have no logic. They just despise the lady. So what can she do to draw inner support from those who think she's a liar, those who think that she's despicable, those who think that she can't be trusted? If she did everything that she's capable of doing and the minds are closed, is that being fair to her?
Not 100%, I would say, Aaron, it's not, but it's become at that point a performance-based issue. So the things that she said that people not necessarily want to hear, but things that are put before her that are hard questions that she's given a verbal answer to, now people are going to force it to make her show that in her action. So again, it's past the point that somebody asked a question on the lines of something like one of the members of Black Lives Matter asked her about statements that she's made, and she gives a kind of a roundabout answer or whatnot. See, that's not going to cut it anymore. And so, if she is elected, some of these same groups are going to now look for. They're not going to look for more words of what her intents are. They're going to be looking for straight up action.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself I think would determine whether or not, if she gets in, that would pretty much say whether or not she's going to be a single term or a two-term president, from my view.
Okay, so Deb, let me bring you back in. You are caucusing for Senator Sanders. What is it that the insiders are saying relative to creating that line of communication with the Clinton campaign to start the dialogue to say, okay, if you want what you want, here's what you got to give us. Are there any conversations that are spewing regarding that?
Honestly, as of right now, there are not. Everybody, at least everybody that is caucusing or, supporting Bernie here in Missouri, what we're concentrating on right now is still pushing the state to come up. We actually have a group going to Kentucky to campus soon. That's this weekend, I believe it is. And everybody's still looking towards this. And the other thing that we're doing, that we're looking at now, is we're not even looking towards that yet. We are looking towards our local elections, and we are sorting out our Bernie crap from our other corporate Democrats, and we're trying to push those. So we're starting at a grassroots level here in our own state right now. I think if we get a little bit closer to California, maybe that conversation will start coming up a little bit more. But right now, everybody's still totally dedicated to Bernie and dedicated to pushing this all the way to California.
Okay, so when you look at, here's where I'm kind of caught. I'm not really concerned about the older ones like us. When I say older, I'm talking about as far as a little bit more age than the millennials. Because I think the problem is going to be those millennials not being able to relate to former Secretary of State. I think that's where her main problem is going to be. And I think if the mature progressives can get in, sit down at this table of love, this table of bargaining, this table of finding a middle of the road or a common ground, to let Hillary. No, I'm not saying concede by no means. I'm saying at the end of the day, when the smoke clears and the dust settle, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So the person who does not prevail is going to have to find some kind of way to force the issue, because one or the other is not going to be able to win without the other support. That's a given. Now, if we are ready to go and start another party, then I think we need to, and I want to say we, I'm talking about all of us, the progressive, whatever this movement is going to be, we need to make sure that we're not doing this out of emotions. We're doing this out of a pure cause to make sure that from now on, people have a choice rather than two parties. There could possibly be four parties or four different arenas that a person can go under and fit under that tent. What do you think about that type of equation, Nikki? Did I lose you? Aaron, are you out there?
Yes, sir. I'm still here, Barry.
Okay. What do you think about that, Aaron?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of emotions tied to where people are putting their support. The problem with that is, well, not necessarily a problem, but it gives a perception that there will be bitterness by those who would not stand to support former Secretary of State if it comes down to that. I believe, and this is my total stance on it, it's not even a question right now for me of emotion. It's a question of the time element involved to get the country to a point of where it can actually be stabilized, not just economically, but spiritually, morally. I mean, there's some issues that politics plays a role in. But okay, let me use this example. We all know where the country stood when President Barack Obama took the first term. And I don't think a lot of people really understand how far the needle has moved in a positive direction. We know there's a whole lot, there's quite a bit more distance we would like to see the needle move. However, I think a lot of people understand if the wrong mindset of people gets into that position of leadership, the worst thing in the world is to take backward steps when it was so hard to make the forward steps as we made in the country. So, again, the emotional side of it, I would say those are some of the voters who, and this is on both sides, not necessarily a Democratic or Republican issue. There are undereducated and miseducated voters on both sides. A lot of issues that come up are actually driven to get an emotional response. Then you have issues that I would say also the issues that Senator Sanders addresses and tackles. Those are issues that people constantly like to sweep under the rug because they don't have as much emotional, momentum tied to them. You understand what I'm saying? So things like, for instance, the civil rights movement and struggle has taken a turn since Senator Sanders was a young civil rights activist. So it's a lot of things that the millennials still are being educated and brought up to speed on, but at the same time, it seems that they still stand closer to Bernie on many of the issues than they do Secretary Slick. I don't think those are as emotional as some of the other issues. So looking on the other side, it appears that some of the stuff that Trump is saying is almost 100% motivated by emotions, ignorance, things of this nature. So, the unstable mind of the voter, I think, is something that we have to really look at carefully.
Okay. Deb, let me ask you, Dave Lamont, are you in yet?
Tim, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you loud and clear. Dave, I would love to get your perspective, and I know that Nick and the rest of them would like to get it. Talk to us, Dave. You've posted out there on the live link, but I want you to kind of reiterate some of the things that you were saying earlier. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, basically a rundown of what I was thinking is, number one, the race is not over, and we shouldn't talk about it as if this race is over. Bernie Sanders still has, it's a difficult race to do, but I think at this point he's shifting gears and going with the idea of either trying to make the case with the superdelegates, because it's going to be a contested convention unless he starts doing really horribly in the last few races. So he's going to go into the convention being close, within 300 delegates. He can make the case to the superdelegates to try and say that his electability is greater than Senator Clinton's, and show the places where Donald Trump can actually run to the left of Hillary Clinton. The other thing is, now that the Republican race is over, the media will start talking about the Democratic race. This will do everything to promote Bernie Sanders. Even if they try their best not to talk about him, they still end up having to talk about him because he is the person in the race. So he's going to get media exposure. Independents in states that have open primaries could end up breaking for Bernie Sanders, and he could get larger winning streaks. So these are all things as to why Bernie Sanders should stay in the race. Now, as for things like what does that mean? Well, it means that he'll have a say in the party platform. He may have input that he can give on cabinet members, VP picks, things like that. So, we might see someone like Sherrod Brown getting picked because he would bring in a key state, and he is a well-known progressive amongst progressives. So that's the argument for Sanders staying in the race at this point. And it doesn't hurt Clinton at this point, because, to be honest, everything that could happen to Hillary has happened to Hillary in the last 30 years from constant Republican attacks. Bernie Sanders is a minor blip on the radar of attacks on Hillary Clinton.
Right.
So that's my take.
Right, Dave Lamont, stay on. Deb just asked a question out there on the live link, but Deb, rather than me read this question, I want you to bring it up and pose it to everybody that's out there, and then we'll get a little dialogue on it. Go ahead on, Deb.
Okay, and yeah, this has been one of my biggest concerns. And we have the fact that millennials and of course other people, I mean, I know a lot of people, have always felt disenfranchised and alienated from the politics, from the political process. Bernie Sanders has brought them into it now, and he's gotten them active. So if Hillary Clinton wins the nomination, I have a feeling that they're going to be feeling even more disenfranchised, and then they're also going to be feeling betrayed because there's been a lot of these issues about the way that the voting has been handled. You know, with the closed, like you were saying, with the closed primaries and the different ways each state handles their primary elections, with the voter purging and things like that. So I guess my question is, with all that happening, I really believe that these people are going to bow out. They are going to feel like they have lost. They're going to go right back to where they were. And how are we going to keep those people involved?
Right.
I mean, that's another reason I think that Bernie needs to stay in so badly. But in the end, how are we going to keep those people involved?
Deb, you are exactly right. But what I'm looking at is from from the art of negotiating. Okay, if Bernie gets in and continues to do what he's doing and he loses and he has nothing to bring to the table, then what happens?
Right, and that's what I'm saying is what's going to happen is these people are going to have to stay involved somewhere if Hillary wants to win this from Donald Trump. And my fear is that they will not. That we're going to see them bow out, and it's going to be just enough to allow Trump to win over her. And that scares me to death. I do not want him. He's a bigot. He's a horrible person. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be destructive for our country. Other countries don't even want to deal with him. I mean, they're already saying, you know, they've been talking about it for a long time.
Well, let me ask you this, Deb. I think it was Belinda out there on the line now saying that Trump is now changing his position on, I believe Belinda stated, on the public restroom use or whatever. I mean, Dave Lamont, I want all you guys to think. Do you think that Trump has now proved his comment from day one that if he were to run, he'd run as a Republican because they're stupid? Do you think he's proven that point now? And I'll send it around. I'll start with you, Deb. I go to Aaron, then I go to Nick, and then I go to Dave.
I've always wondered about that, and I have to say, it's like I have questioned Donald Trump's intentions right from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. I have actually followed him very closely because well, for one thing, he's just so contradictory anyway, that it almost seems like he has had some kind of an a plan underneath it all. He's come, and that was actually me that was talking about him coming out for public use restrooms. Mm-hmm. That's a big issue for conservatives right now,
right?
With the transgender population. So why is all of a sudden he doing that? So I still question, and I don't think he's going to go to the full end. I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to go to the end. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to find a way to bow out, kind of like Ross Perot did. Mm-hmm. Really do.
Okay, Aaron Hopkins.
Yeah, you know, Deb makes an excellent point, and it goes kind of along the lines of the emotional tie to the vote. So the people who will feel that way, if they feel like, you know, they got into the political scene or got involved, and we're looking to back Senator Sanders, and with a all or nothing sort of sentiment behind it. I understand that, and I think that's another reason why I use the term undereducated and miseducated. Mr. Trump used the term stupid, which is an insult, but the fact remains there are people who are just not educated to the process. They're not educated to how policy and things of this nature are actually established. So that's a segment on both sides of people who are bombarded by issues that appeal to the emotions, like the issue, even though it's more of a, I don't want to use the term civil rights, because I personally don't believe it's a civil rights issue, but a transgender issue with the bathroom. For the most part, people don't really know who's going to the bathroom anyway. It was just something when it was brought to somebody's attention, then it just blew up. But my point in saying that is, issues are used and geared towards getting emotional response and emotional uprisings that are not made to last. It's like a wave, and somebody like a Donald Trump who understands how to use and manipulate something like that, which, Dale, I have to say this, I've said it before, and I agree with you. I don't believe, I have never really been convinced that he was actually after the presidency. I think he was after, and is after, something totally different. However, I think he is willing to use the presidency to do whatever his underlying plan is, which of course is a very selfish motivation, but it is what I see. So the people who might feel like that, if it comes down to it, then how they stay involved is really not something we can determine. They're going to have to look at issues that hit closest to home with them locally, and hopefully we'll see that the same type of grassroots momentum that Bernie had helped start, that thing can continue on that level. Now, again, it comes down to a person's individual will. If they see it as important now, it should actually become more important after the fact. That's from where I see it.
Nikki?
I absolutely agree with Aaron. I think what Bernie's excited, is I think he's excited in people. There's this way that the country is going, and when you really look at what's going on, all of the issues, mass incarceration, poverty, fracking, planetary abuses. I mean, it's like this unchecked, unstoppable freight train, that's headed to disaster. And it almost seems to me, when I step back, and I always love Aaron, when you bring in the spiritual aspect, there's a confluence happening right now. I mean, we've got this psychotic Donald Trump, who nobody knows. I mean, he could be in it for the presidency, he could be not. He's a loose cannon. There's no understanding the man whatsoever. But he's excited that part of the population, and I think that's the emotional appeal. And he appeals to, you said earlier, about make America great again. What he's appealing to is white America. Let's get all people of color, all minorities, all everybody, and we'll have this great country. That's who he's appealing to. Mm-hmm. And there's a potential that this man can be the leader of the most important office in the free world. Then you've got Hillary, and Hillary is corrupt and heinous. She's an immoral woman. She's sitting there. She's got the potential. And then there's Bernie Sanders. And the life of the man, forget the political career. The man's life is a testimony. He's just gone in this straight line from A to B. There's no U-turns, there's no flip-flopping, there's no anything. Okay? And he has all of the concern that we need, and is aware of all of the issues that we need to stop this freight train. And no head backwards, like Aaron's saying. And there's this, and I think what he's done is he's merited people their dissatisfaction. Kids leaving school, 18 years old, who have no money to go to college, earning $8 an hour, still staying with their parents. Mm-hmm. The kid on the street who cannot get a job. I think alongside what Bernie Sanders is excited, and when you look at the young grassroots movements, and I'm going to mention Black Lives Matter, Color of Change, Move On, they haven't endorsed anybody. They're just moving right on it. They're doing. And So my hope and my prayer is that Bernie forces the Democratic Party to change, where certain issues become platform issues, like we're not going any further without this, and these young folks keep doing what they're doing. I think the freight train needs to be stopped. We're on a crash course. We're on a course of destruction, like imploding, not only domestically, not only nationally, but internationally. What we're doing to be stopped. Otherwise, it's almost like there's forces out there, this confluence. It's like good and evil right now, and one is going to prevail.
Okay. Let me ask you, Dave Lamont, come on in.
Yes, I have to agree with Aaron. I think that the original intent of Donald Trump was not necessarily to win the presidency or the nomination. I think this was more or less a branding kind of thing for him. But now his ego has taken over, and I don't think that he can allow himself to lose in his own mind. And with Sanders, one of the things that Bernie-crats, all of us need to know as Bernie-crats and do as Bernie-crats, is remember that we're not solely out to elect a president. We're out to take over the party. We're out to make a movement to change politics in America. That can happen with or without Bernie Sanders. And I insist that it must happen with or without Bernie Sanders. It's not the man, it's the movement we need to work on. So that means we do need to try and take these corporate Democrats on. We need to try and force, the Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the Hillary Clintons, the Bill Clintons, the Cory Bookers, all of these kinds of people. We have to try and move the needle for them. We have to show them that politics as usual is not the game in town anymore.
Right.
And so that's why I preach the way I do.
Well, let me ask you this, Dave, because I want to see. I'm chatting on the line with Belinda and Deb, and I actually believe that the establishment is actually afraid of Bernie Sanders because of what he has been able to create on his own that they've not been able to do in the last 30 or 40 years. So I'm looking at this purely from a negotiation standpoint. And when you're negotiating, there are things that you want that you can't live without. And there are some things that you're going to ask for and you may not get them, but you can live with that. I'd much rather have a progressive individual that's in that particular White House rather than Bernie put all of his cards on the table and then actually gets nothing in return. Now, that can go both ways. In no way am I suggesting that anybody should get out of a race. I think people should be in a race that's not in a race, but talking about people that are in the race, if that makes any sense. My point is this. The only thing that I'm asking or trying to pose is at what point do the loser and the winner come to the table and be logical with each other and say, look, here's what I got to have to at least get my people or have a logical conversation or logical discussion with my people so they can see the logic that might draw them over to you. Now, whether they go to you or not, that's totally different. I believe that, again, the establishment itself, based on what this unknown man has been able to do in 1 year, Dave Lamont, I think you'll agree, this guy has a lot of power that most people are not willing to say so, but deep down inside they know, and they'll be going to Bernie, regardless of whether he becomes the nominee or he remains in the United States Senate. What do you think about that, Dave? And I'll take that back around the table.
Well, let me try and answer that with a kind of a question that I've been wanting to pose to the more Bernie or bust type of individuals that are on the line. So I want to ask this question: what does someone like Secretary Clinton need to do in your mind in order to bring the party together at the convention and onward through to the November election? What kind of things? Is it key people? Is it adopting certain policies? Or is it a combination of both? I want to hear the take on what you guys think needs to be done in order to basically earn her place.
Y'all want me to hit that first, but what I'll do is I'll yield and let anybody else come in. Nikki, Dave, Deb, Aaron, whichever one want to come in. Come on in.
Baron. Baron.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me? This is Rita.
How you doing, Dr. Spilker?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing fine.
Hi to everybody at the table. Can I say a few things? I've been listening.
Go ahead.
And it's a very exciting conversation. And I think there's a population that I haven't heard from any of you, and that's the population that put Trump where he is. His statement, not so much that they like Trump, but they're disgusted with Washington. And I think that when push comes to shove, these people are going to, I guess, stand on their heels for a few minutes and go, what the heck do we really want? Do we want Washington to change? Yeah. But is Trump the right guy? And I think the majority hopefully will say, wait a minute, what are we doing? I mean, if we put this clown into office, what do we have? And, logically, I don't think they're going to be able to add 2 and 2 and get 4.
Mm-hmm.
3, but not 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point, some of my friends who are staunch Republicans have said, Rita, we're going to jump the ship and we're going to vote for Hillary if Trump is getting near the point of winning. We don't want him in.
Right.
I said, why not Sanders? And I said to them, why not Sanders? And they said, well, Hillary is more rounded in her expertise, in her knowledge of how the government works. But we all know, all of us sitting at the table know that whoever gets in still has to face a Congress, divided Congress. And that's going to be the key to everything. It doesn't matter whether it's Trump, Sanders, Hillary Clinton, it doesn't matter. They're going to have to face a Congress that's divided, and that's dripped down from the top, and now the country is divided because all of the stupidity that's going on up there.
Right. That's very correct. Nikki, I'm going to let one of you guys come on in. Dave, we'll come back to your question. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Spilker.
I'd love to comment because I think the soundness of what the caller said, I think the Republican backlash towards Trump is just beginning. The Republicans, forget anyone else. I think Paul Ryan coming out today, I think the Bushes, I think the establishment is afraid. The Republican establishment is afraid of Trump. They've bitten off more than they can chew. And they should have bit that off a long time ago. I think so too. But they didn't have a viable candidate. What was it, Cruz or Rubio? But I think that Republican backlash is coming, and I think more sensible Republicans are going to take a look and say, do we really need this? Do we really want this guy in the White House? I read a lot of commentary today when Paul Ryan refused to endorse him, and it was from Republicans. And I can't tell you how many people posted, that's it, I'm gone, I'm an independent. And I think by nature, those people, if they decide to vote, will vote for Hillary because she is more establishment. She appears to be more establishment. But, Dave's question, or it was Deb's, on what will it take for Bernie's supporters to grill. And I think that there's a host of positions that Hillary will need to adopt. I think she'll need to adopt $15 an hour. I think she'll need to adopt a change in her trade laws, the disastrous trade laws. I think she'll have to adopt fracking. I think she'll have to adopt these policies as her own to win any kind of Bernie supporters. And I think Bernie being there and Bernie being at the convention, I think Bernie knows what's important. I think Bernie knows what his power base is. And I think there will be a forcing of that on Hillary if she's to get any of her supporters. And I think we'll have to see adjust this policy.
Hey, Nikki, I don't know if you're backing away from your phone or what, but we're kind of losing a little reception on you.
I think it won't happen. I think it won't happen. I think these people, British supporters, want change. It is a movement. It's not a drop in the pan. We'll be excited about politics.
Hey, Nikki.
People want change. I mean, if you think what Britain has brought to light in the last month, people talk about fracking that never knew what fracking was.
Hey, Nikki.
Talk about mass incarceration that weren't aware of it.
Nikki.
The real issues that people are concerned about.
Nikki.
And they're on the table.
Nikki.
We'll have to adopt them to get the support from them. Otherwise, people aren't going.
Hey, Nikki. I'm not sure if we lost her or not. Hey, Nikki. Yeah, your phone is going in and out. I'm not sure if you're on speakerphone or if you're moving away, but 40 to 50% of what you said was kind of hard as far as the feedback. So I don't know if you know what you need to do to make the adjustments. Dave Lamont, go ahead.
I was just trying to play intermediary. I do want to address the point that she was talking about. Now, we've heard, Nikki mentioned that we've heard from a lot of Republicans about how they're either not going to endorse Trump at all or they're actually going to vote for Hillary. One of the things that I have to emphasize is don't count on these kinds of things for very long, because if there's one thing Republicans are good at is obeying. Once Trump solidifies himself as master of the GOP, and I use the term master purposely because this is how the party is run. Once he's established himself as the master of the party, everybody will fall in line. Expect an endorsement from Congressman Speaker Ryan, who says he's not endorsing Trump. Expect that by maybe September or October.
Right.
Just we cannot count on the idea of the Republicans splitting ranks over Trump.
Right.
The one thing that they're very good at is solidifying as a party and obeying their master.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, Dave. And I think what they're doing is they're trying to force Trump to come back more in the fold of what their beliefs are, which they're trying to tame it. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do it. Aaron Hopkins, you out there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, Dave asked a question. I want to make sure everybody get a chance to answer that, and then we'll go off into something else, because we got about 26 more minutes. Dave asked a question. Do you need him to repeat it, or are you ready to go?
Yeah, I want Dave to repeat it. I think it was a very good question, and I've been pondering it, but I want to answer it directly.
Screens from the center. Go ahead.
Certainly. The question at hand is, what conditions, what policy or personnel decisions does Secretary Clinton need to make in order to attract Bernie-crats to vote for her?
Okay. First of all, Dave, excellent question, because I think within the question, it will answer a lot of what's on a lot of people's minds. And I believe this, you kind of stated this earlier, because there is another factor that we have to realize is not only present, but is very active in his campaign as a whole, and that is the corporate interest that former Secretary of State Clinton, more so than anybody running right now, is probably involved with. So I think when the caller came on a few minutes ago and mentioned the faction on the other side of the Republicans who have basically put Trump where he is, we have to look at the unseen and or entity, which to me is the corporate voice or the corporate machine that is actually driving this campaign from my vantage point. So I don't really know, Dave, that she's capable of doing anything. I know she would be capable of saying a lot of things, and that goes back to what I said in the beginning. People are not going to really just sit back and accept words after the fact, if she is elected, what things are you actually going to put into practice? Because the verbal game has been exhausted. And I think that's another thing as far as the time frame with this campaign. I think she got to the point where she ran out of time to even address all of the things that people were showing that they were dissatisfied with her, just in her reputation. So, and I'm not necessarily a Bernie or die person. You made an excellent statement beginning, David, before you asked your question. And in essence, what you were saying was, there's not necessarily a stance that means if Bernie is not elected president, that the movement itself should lose momentum or die. As a matter of fact, I kind of see that it may even pick up. Again, that's my personal feeling, but I'm not convinced. I could be alone on this, but I'm not convinced that Mrs. Clinton has the ability because of her past. See, once you make alliances with some people, those alliances aren't easily broken, simply because now people have brought to your attention things that they don't like about you. You can address them, so to speak, just to satisfy the question. It doesn't mean that the actions are going to change. So she's going to have to do a lot with me, and I'm only speaking for me. And I don't believe she's capable. I'm just stating it as I see it, because we all know the money machine and the corporate machine really, at the end of the day, has way more control than a lot of people want to admit.
So Aaron, but before I go to Deb, let me ask you this question, devil's advocate. At what point must a man forgive and forget and move on?
Well, see, I don't know, Baron, if this is necessarily an act of forgiveness, because, again, the forgiveness from where I stand means that a person shows that they are sorry for what they did, but they don't return to those same actions. So, in other words, if you say, or if I say you're forgiven for today, and you say, well, I appreciate that, but now I'm going to return back to business as usual, that's the dangerous mindset that I think a lot of people are not willing to even allow come to the surface again. That's why I think Nikki said it, Dave said it. This grassroots movement has a momentum that is going to continue, even if Senator Sanders does not become the nominee. I think this movement is going to actually build momentum and build steam, and it's going to put even more pressure on whoever becomes president to make some things happen if they don't want something to blow up in their face.
Okay, good point. Okay, Deb, come on in.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to put it out there. I am, at this point in time, I am a Bernie or bust. That's my position.
Okay.
And, I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's what I'm saying. I live in a write-in state, and I can write in Bernie. And I will, unless Hillary can convince me differently. But I will put this out here. I don't think it's just Hillary that needs to start talking. I think it's the DNC too, because they have I have voted Democrat all my life, and they have also disenfranchised us.
Right.
And we're a little bit tired of that. And now going back to Aaron's point, is that with Hillary being bought with money, right now she's going left. I remember when this whole thing started, she almost didn't even have a platform of her own. She didn't have much to say. There was nothing out there. Bernie was throwing things out there already, right off the get-go. And my question is, what I'm waiting to see is, will she pirouette and turn back and dance back to the right? I think she will. I think she will do whatever she has to do to get where she wants to be. That being said, I've been following her since back in the Clinton days. And I think that she has been, I think everything that she has done has been specifically, whether she will admit to it or not, was to get to the point that she is now. Being that she stayed with Bill through all that torrential things back that he was going through, right up to ticketing herself into the Senate seat in New York. I think it was all a well-laid plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't trust her, and most of the people like me don't trust her.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to have to show me something solid, rock solid, that I can trust that when she steps into this, that she's going to follow through with it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I don't know if she can do that.
Right. Well, Dave Lamont, are you? Did you get an answer to your question? That we may have lost, Dave. I'm not.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay. You got a second part to it, or you want to yield at that point?
I just wanted to put that out there because, like I said, I got into this as active as I did to promote the movement,
Right.
not necessarily the candidate.
Exactly.
So I wanted to get the clarification on that from other people, and I think they made their point.
Right. And Dave, I think that there may be a misunderstanding based on what you just said, because I think a lot of people got involved because of the movement, but they've allowed the emotions to get in, so now it's about the person, because eventually the person is going to vanish. So if the person is going to vanish, then what does that say for the movement? And here's why I'm saying again that Bernie has a lot of power. If you look at state by state and congressional districts, if Bernie gets people to go out and run for United States Congress and United States Senate, he has the opportunity to change Washington, D.C. like no other has in the last 50 to 100 years. Why? Because he will change the dynamics of how laws are passed with progressive individuals. Because when you go again to those individual senatorial or congressional districts, those people would have the opportunity to get elected because they are for the progressive movement. When I say the majority, I'm not talking about all. I'm talking about enough to make a significant change within the political process in Washington, D.C. Because if you don't change the mentality of Washington, you're not going to change Washington. Barack Obama proved that. So when you look at all of this stuff, what I'm going to do right now, we're looking at about 15 minutes left in the broadcast. Do we have any callers out there who would like to engage in a conversation for or against, or add their own comment? I'll pause for a minute. You may do so.
Baron, one more comment.
Go ahead.
That is, this is Rita again, and no matter who gets in, they're going to have to run by both sides of Congress. So whether Trump or Hillary or whoever, they're going to be stymied by the same people that stymied Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a very divided, contentious next few years unless people get their act together. And it's going to be horrendous. I mean, we might as well buckle down and move to Canada or something. I'm not quite sure, but we're going to be rocking and rolling. That's for sure.
Exactly. Which again, it goes to the point that we're talking about. It does not matter who gets elected at this point,
right? Because
the Congress is what's going to, and the Congress has already dictated what they are willing to do with regards to the last 8 years, even when things that they believed in, because it didn't come from them, they were 100% anti. If Hillary gets in, she's one of the most polarized individuals that has ever run for office because of what has existed. So even if it's Hillary, again, Bernie has the opportunity to make a significant impact with regards to the control when you look at the 50 states and all of those congressional districts that are out there. So I agree with that. Anybody else want to make a response to the comment?
I think, Barry, you make an excellent point. I think it's a tremendous point. I think that's what this movement is all about. I'll go back to what Aaron said. How do you forgive someone? I think there's no in Hillary Clinton, I think her whole life has been about political expediency, and I kind of agree with Deb to get from there to right where she is right now. She thought she had it in 2008. I think she's morally untrustworthy. I think she's a despicable woman. And I don't trust her one bit. I think the best we can hope for if she gets in is that her feet are kept to the fire, feet are put to the fire before people will even consider her. I think her sorry means nothing. Implicit in any sorry is a promise never to do it again. I think her sorries are worthless. So I think that if she gets in, I think the best we can hope for is that certain policies of Bernie are adopted as a platform for the Democratic Party. And without these conditions, she doesn't get it. Without these conditions, she doesn't get it. Bernie has said explicitly what he wants.
Mm-hmm. So let me throw this. Let me throw this out there because now, correct me if I'm wrong. Because what I'm hearing is that because Clinton has been a certain way for so long, it's almost impossible for her to change. Is that what we're saying?
That's what I'm saying. That's what. I believe the women have no moral compass.
But can she change?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think that she can change?
No, I think everything with Hillary Clinton is about power. And when she gets the power, I'm kind of with Deb that she's as capable, and Aaron, as capable as a flip-flop right back. Plus, she owes too many people, and Aaron made the point. Her debts are going to be called in. She's signed, sealed, and delivered, bought for. You know, her debts are going to be called in.
Wow. So the conclusion is that this lady cannot change. I'm kind of mystified.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead. Come on in, caller. Come on in, Deb.
This is Paula.
Okay, come on in, Paula.
Yeah, the one thing I think about Hillary Clinton is that she is so funded by the oil companies. She is so funded by the insurance industry. She is so funded by the pharmaceutical companies. She owes everybody everything, and they don't give her all that money for nothing. And so she can say whatever she wants. Mm-hmm. She can say that she's for climate change, or that, she wants to do things about that. But she owes the fossil fuel companies. Mm-hmm. They're funding her.
Right.
So I don't think that she can actually do anything that she says she's going to do, because they're going to call in their debts.
Can she do better than Donald Trump?
Donald doesn't really owe anybody anything.
Right, but exactly, and it does not mean because he doesn't owe anybody anything. It's what he may do with his corruption and his corrupt mind. So, yeah. So, and let me ask you this, caller: the same favors that people, and I'm not a Hillary fan, the same favor that people, but I'm just trying to be fair, that say Hillary owes these people. If you look back to 43 previous presidents, everybody has owed somebody something. We just didn't know it because modern technology didn't exist then as it does now. Is that fair? Is that an overstretch? Or how do you view that?
I agree with that.
And I guess what I'm saying is, because I know me personally, I have been a little rough on Hillary, and I'll be honest, I've been very brutal toward her. But I'm trying to be honest and fair. Some of my stuff I'm backing back because this Benghazi and all that other kind of stuff. I don't think the lady is as untrustworthy as some on the right says that she is. However, I do believe that there are some things that surrounds her, and she makes it worse by not disclosing some things. And what I guess what I'm asking to anybody that's out there is all of the bad and the negative that Hillary has. Is that worse than what Donald Trump can bring to the table, even if he don't owe anybody anything? I'll start with you, Colin, then we'll go down the list.
I'm not sure that it's any different. One thing that, I'm like Deb. I'm for Bernie Sanders because he refused super PAC. He is a grassroots guy. I think he really cares. He's the one guy that I think really cares about what happens with the American people. And I'm not so sure that Donald or Hillary really do.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Anybody else want to respond to that? Caller makes a good point. By the way, caller, thanks for joining. It appears that we don't recognize a voice, but thanks for joining the Smoking Glass Hour tonight with all the other hosts and co-hosts that are out there. Thanks for calling in.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Doc, is anybody else out there want to make a comment or respond to what has already been stated? We got about 8 minutes left, so go ahead. Let's finish it. Go
Aaron,
ahead. Go ahead.
One last comment. The comment is that Trump, no bank that Trump owes, because he's been bankrupt so many times, and he owes a lot of notes, no bank at this point is going to call him on his notes in his position. So he has the backing of the banks because of all the multi-billions of dollars that are in flux. So, if we're pointing fingers, I'm not a Hillary fan either. But if it comes between Trump and Hillary, I think I'd go Hillary just for her experience. And Donald is somewhere psychotic in the night, somewhere.
Yeah. Go ahead, Aaron Hopkins. I hear you coming in.
Yeah, one of the things about history that a lot of times when we don't pay attention to things that happened in the past, we got to remember that at one time, Donald Trump was a supporter of the Clintons when he was in the Democratic Party. So one of the people that he owes a debt to is actually Donald Trump. So I'm going to throw a little more mud in the water and ask, nobody really needs to say it or answer it. That's not really a question, just something to put in mind. So if we're talking about debts that are going to have to be paid, at some point he could call her on debts of that nature as well.
That's a good one, Nikki. Dave Lamont, I know you want to jump in on that one, Aaron. That's an excellent point.
I think, Aaron, I know that the Clintons were at Trump's wedding, and I think the question is Hillary worse than Trump? I think with Hillary, I think things will kind of get triangulated. I believe that she is totally untrustworthy. I'm afraid of Hillary. I'm afraid of Hillary's deviousness. If it came to me between Hillary and Trump, I don't know that I could vote for either one of them. I wouldn't vote for either one of them. But I'd almost like to see the things fall apart and the things stay the same, and become worse. She has many, many debts to pay. I think the things that are important to people, you hear people talking about fracking today. 6 months ago, they didn't know what it was. Incarceration, they didn't know what it was. Bernie's brought all these issues to light. I'm going to put my trust in the grassroots movements and support that and look for change that way. I think your excellent point, Baron, that if Bernie doesn't get in at that level, he can change D.C. like it hasn't been changed in 100 years. And that's my hope.
Dave Lamont.
Yes, I've stated my stance several times. I think that the unknowns of Donald Trump and the one known of Donald Trump is the fact that he's a Republican. He's running as a Republican. Republicans fall in line. And knowing those things, we know that Donald Trump is going to end up attacking Social Security, Medicare. He's going to not do anything about incarceration rates that we have in America. He's not going to do any of those things. We have at least somewhat of a chance of convincing Clinton that she has to do something about these things. And I absolutely agree. There's no reason why she would necessarily do that, except for, again, I got to point out that the Clintons, one of the big thing that Bill Clinton was accused of during his presidency was being poll-driven. And all of these topics, Medicare, Social Security, education, incarceration rates, all of these things are polling at 50% to 75%. Gun issues are polling at in the 90s. So if she's anything like her husband, I think that she will listen to us and at least capitulate on some of the items of the progressive agenda that don't interfere with some of her corporate agenda. And there are issues that can change on that. So, there are issues that we can get by even with someone like Clinton who may have trustworthy issues.
Well, Dave, I remember back in college, Professor Eugene Tarver, who was in political science. And I think he basically told us that when you're looking at voting, you either vote with your conscience, your constituents, or both. If we make the comparison of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, if we look at the Voting Rights Act, if we look at women's rights, if we look at social justice, if we look at minimum wages, if we look at abortion, if we look at the Supreme Court, if we look at all of these other rights, constitutional rights that have been afforded to us by the Constitution of the United States, if you vote with your conscience, then it would be pretty much simple to me that at least with Hillary Clinton, you would have a better chance of maintaining what you already have versus knowing that Donald Trump is a divider, which means that he would go in and do a whole lot of other things to continue to divide. Because you got to remember, Trump said one thing, that the Republicans are stupid. If he were to run, he would run as a Republican. He's done that. He's proven that he can do whatever it is that he wants. So if he proves, or has already proven that, what makes us think that if Donald Trump is occupying the White House, that this guy would be an all-out defender against all of these civil rights, social rights, and all of these other rights that we have afforded to us from the Constitution of the United States. Dave Lamont, Screen from the Center. Here's what I'd like to do Monday night if we can, because this has been on my mind since you mentioned this. Are we, in fact, talking about Bernie Sanders more, or are we talking about the movement itself? Because I think, Dave, you brought up a point, Aaron, I think you'd agree with this, that there may be some confusion between the man or the movement. Dave, do you think that's something, Deb, Nikki, and anybody else that's out there that we can coordinate for Monday night, the Monday night show, and continue this conversation? Because I think before this process is over with, we need to make sure that everybody has an understanding. At the end of the day, take the emotions out and do what you got to do. Now, again, I'm willing to suffer the consequences if Bernie does not win. I'm going to vote for a Green Party. I'm not under no circumstances. It's not that I haven't forgiven Hillary. It's not that anything. She's not my candidate. She's not the person that I'm interested in having as the first woman to be in this office. We got about 1 minute left. Nikki Beverett thanks. Dave Lamont thanks. Deb thanks, Dr. Spilkin thanks, Aaron Hopkins thanks, and our other caller, which is Deb Friend, thanks. Belinda, thanks for being out there on the line. I know that there are others out there on the line. I can't call those numbers, but they've been sent in. I want to say to everybody that's out there, at some point we have to have some logic. And at some point, we have to exercise common sense. And I'm not trying to force a vote on anybody. However, I'm trying to ask that you take the emotions out of it and deal with the logical aspect and the realities. If Donald Trump is in office, and again, I said from day one, I'm going to be 100% against Donald Trump. I'm not supporting Hillary, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Trump is not the person to occupy the White House, the Oval Office. You've been listening to tonight's topic, Ted Cruz out. Does Sanders stay in and help hurt Hillary? Thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio. Hey, look, check us out Monday night at 7:30, and we will be glad to get more involved. I see Garrett's G Money join us out there. It's the battle of evil versus money. He's just coming in. He or she join us Monday night. Good night to everybody that's out there who hosted and co-hosted the show. Good night.
Good night, Aaron.
Good night. Good night.
Night.
I love it.